Welcome back to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another European review show. And Luke, it's great to be doing these European review shows, isn't it? To be honest, every week, like it is a lot more to our time, etc. But it's fantastic to be I suppose, doing Irish clubs in Europe, and on the most part, you know, they're getting good results throughout. And unfortunately, though, for Sligo, things didn't go well for them up in Norway. Finished Viking 5, Sligo 1. They were 5-0 down in the game as well, and Cawley got a penalty in the last minute to make it 5-1. They'll be very disappointed with that because you feel like the tie is essentially over going into the second leg. It's very difficult to see Sligo get back from that. But I was thinking about this last night when I coming home from Tallaght Stadium, actually, that I just wonder if the fact that Viking are midway through the season, played 17 games. I just wonder if that factor comes into play here for Sligo. I'm not sure Viking would be much better than Ludogorets, let's say, at all, as an example. But the fact that they're well into their season, I do wonder if that's a factor there.
Yeah, it is. But when you look at Sligo as well and how many games they've played this season as well, like it's I think fitness shouldn't be a problem in that for Sligo. You know, they've played so many games, like their match sharpness is up to where it has to be. Like, you know what I mean? To be like we've seen, like I think maybe Motherwell would be saying after they played Sligo, the whole thing that they were still in pre-season and all, and they've only started their season there last weekend. Like, so which had a great win actually, which was funny enough. Like
they'll probably win the league now.
Yeah, they've only if Celtic and Rangers drop out though. But sure, look, at the same time, this game, it's very, very poor from Sligo. You know, I think I seen the highlights of this one, and they just got played off the park by the looks of it. You know, Viking just like, I think we underestimated Viking. To be honest, I think we said, like, during the week that, you know, this probably the easiest of the ties out of the three. You know what I mean? The three League of Ireland clubs. This was probably the easiest one. We said, anyways, you know, and we were completely wrong, absolutely completely wrong. And you know, I
know Paris, though, it's very difficult to say. Percy at that Shkupi were probably the weaker team, but it's very difficult to say. Like, you know what I mean? I still think Sligo technically were capable of doing better than that on the night, but I think you were on about the fitness there. You're right. But what it is that Viking would have the up-to-match sharpness as well, unlike, say, a Motherwell, unlike CSKA Moscow. I know they've started, or CSKA Moscow, CSKA Sofia, I know they're starting the season and all, but at the same time, I do think, like you say, Sligo would be disappointed. Like, they mustn't have defended very well, did they, for the goals?
No, they didn't. I think the keeper was quite poor for the first goal. I think they got in very easy for the second goal. You know, the third goal, the goals are just quite easy for Viking. Look, some good finishes in that. I think the first goal, the keeper really has to do better. Like, it's a shot comes straight at him and he just palms it away straight away then to the Viking fella who's just stood there to tap it in, like, you know. So, like, keeper was very poor for the first goal, I thought.
That's very early as well. I'd say that's the point as well. They conceded after 4 minutes and suddenly now you're on the back foot already.
And then 3 minutes later, they're 2-0 down, you know what I mean? And you know, like, if you want to give yourself any chance, especially in Europe against so-called better sides, you can't be conceding 2 goals in the first 7 minutes, because you're not giving yourself any of a chance then. Like what we've seen with St. Pat's, like, obviously we'll talk about that one, but CSKA Sofia, we were talking it was probably going to be a really tough game for Pats, and we probably mentioned that CSKA Sofia were probably a better team than Pats, but I didn't really know, because I didn't really know an awful lot about CSKA Sofia. But, you know, they kept CSKA Sofia at 2-0 off for quite a lot of the game, and then obviously got the late winner. Like, but for this one, I think Pat Sligo had to just see it out for the first 10, 15 minutes, you know, get settled in the game. But they couldn't do that because they were 2-0 down after 7 minutes. So sort of killed you then. And then obviously I think Gary Buckley picks up a nasty injury, which I don't know, it doesn't look good for him. Which is very disappointing. Because he's been very good for them this season, and he sort of, you know, I watched him that night against Motherwell. He sort of holds the defence for them very well, like, and it was quite early he got that injury, so that wouldn't have helped him, you know. But look, they got a consolation goal at the end. I don't think it's gonna, you know, add anything. I don't really know. I don't think they'll have much of a chance in the second leg, but, you know, I think it'd be one of the famous turnarounds if they did turn this one around, but it's going to be very tough. But Sligo are going to be really disappointed, especially after all the hard work against Motherwell and, you know, the hype around the club and that, and then to go then to Norway and be beaten 5-1, it's a real kick in the teeth for them, you know.
Yeah, like you say, when you go 2-0 down so early, all of a sudden now you're under pressure. What do you do? You're probably chasing the game a little bit.
Yeah.
And, we're always saying in these European ties to stay in the tie, basically, you can. And you can't be 2 down after 8 minutes. No matter what way you look at it, you just can't. You know what I mean? And it does leave you in a situation where you're probably a bit shell shocked as well. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden, now the opposition, especially at home, are really up for it and sense blood. But, you never know. Like, the thing is, if they could have kept it 0-0 for the first 20 minutes, it's easy to say, but like they probably don't end up losing 5-1. You never know; they could even get a result because they get frustrated on bits and pieces like that. And like we'll move on to Pats because that kind of was the polar opposite in that way, and they obviously won 1-0 away to CSKA Sofia. And I'm laughing because I was vlogging at Tallaght Stadium, but I was also watching this match at the same time. But this match was over before the match started, literally.
Yeah, that was grand, yeah.
So I seen the first half in the car, and the second half I was actually had my head down watching it at Tallaght Stadium. So it's great to get the 2 games in as such. But so I was fairly happy, let's say, before the match started at Tallaght Stadium, that's for sure. And to be honest with you, we talk about first 20 minutes, and I kind of want to compare that. You see Sligo a little bit as well. Pats were under no pressure in the first 20 minutes. There was absolutely no pressure. Aquino talked how they're a physical side and they press high. It was strange though. They did press, but I don't know what it was. It's like, from their point of view, like I thought they were quite poor overall. They never got into gear, and Pat sprayed the ball around the first 20 minutes. And you're thinking, at that point, then, you're thinking stay in the game the first 20 minutes. Every Irish team's going to think that way from home. But it got to the point, geez, could we nick one here from a Pat's point of view? And there were little spaces, and that's sometimes a bad decision in terms of the final ball. Pats were in, type job. And I'm trying to think if there was a chance for them in the first half at all. They had a shot, speculative effort that Anang carried out, and then he covered it again. It wasn't really a scary moment. And it was 0-0 at half time. To be honest, there wasn't many chances for either team in the first half. But that's from an Irish side, Pat's point of view. You're happy with that. Second half, same thing. You're expecting these are going to come out strong. Pats might get a bit tired. Well, Pats took control of it again, to be honest with you. And I'm trying to take the chances. Forrester had a chance where it was a free kick, where it's played into the area.
Yeah,
The forward gets beyond. You're thinking, if he gets a touch, it's a goal. Forrester doesn't get the touch. So that was a chance. Owen Doyle had a chance. He was actually offside, but it was very tight. He was offside, but it's the bar. And he had another chance where he was on the left and he hits it, he blazes over the bar. To be honest, he should do better. He should hit the target. And then they score. But there wasn't one chance. The only real chance they had in reality, in the second half, was a nice ball played through, actually. And Nang kind of comes out because he sees the danger. But to be fair, Brockbank does well to get a touch and it hits off the Sofia player. It could have ended in a scramble, if you know what I mean. But luckily for Pats, they got it away. So that little touch was vital. That was it, pretty much. And you're kind of going, you're waiting and waiting and waiting. There's a chance at the end, actually, with Nang taps over the bar, but it's in a good height for him and a good area, which he can actually. It was a header, it was straight at him. He just knocks over the bar, basically. And obviously, Serge's goal, that was after Serge's goal, actually laid on, where simply it was a goal that you're used to Pats seeing concede in the last few weeks, really. It was the defender goes to head it back to the keeper, makes the balls of it. Serge reads it well, uses his pace, gets beyond and plays it under the keeper's legs. And Pats, what looked like was going to be a decent draw, get a brilliant win. Now, there was a lot to do with the second leg. We'll talk about that another time. But look, it wasn't even a snatch or grab. You see this result, Luke, you're kind of going, oh, look at that. Pats won 1-0 away, 87 minutes. They must have been, I bet you they defended well. By the way, they did defend well, but it wasn't like they were under serious pressure defensively. Redmond was brilliant. O'Reilly and Lennon were absolutely fantastic as well in the middle of the park. But it was a deserved win, I think. The best 3 or 4 chances in the game did fall to Pats. And, when you're watching a game like that and you're expecting the opposition to have a good spell where they're throwing the kitchen sink, there was no kitchen sink. And that's down to Pats. It's also down to them. But, look, it's a great result, ultimately. Great to get the win.
Yeah, that's it. There's not really other way of putting it. You've summed it up pretty well there. It's just a good win, and it's the performance as well that Pat's put in probably would be
exactly,
which is probably going to be the most pleasing thing. I'm sure Tim was, flying home this morning or whenever they can get home.
Another thing, but anyway,
I'm sure flying at home and he's delighted with his team's performance, and obviously he would have been happy, I'm sure, with the 0-0. He wouldn't have been. Yeah. He would have just been pleased that they didn't lose the game or whatever. But
yeah,
to win the game then so late on, and then it's going to really breed confidence into this Pat side. It's just sort of luck. I know it's not luck. I'm not saying it's luck, but see the whole the defending and that from the CSKA Sofia. It's that bit of luck that Pats haven't had in the last
absolutely
season, just this season in general. Like I can't really. We've seen like Pats the performances in some of the games, and they don't get a result on that, and they lose the game, or they might a silly mistake might kill them or something, but there was none of that tonight, yesterday on the end, and like it was just a good performance, and it was just solid, and they couldn't have asked for any more really, and they could have easily won it by more. Do you know what I mean? They could be coming back to Ireland with 2-0 win. Do you know what I mean? And that's the most pleasing thing for them. You know what I mean? And that they can match someone like CSKA Sofia for 90 minutes and manage to get the win as well, which is going to breed confidence coming back. And to be honest with you, I'm more disappointed for them that the game's not in Richmond.
Yeah,
I know it is in Tala, obviously, and that, and it has to be because it's the way the UEFA do things.
You would feel it. I agree with that. You would feel a bit more confident if it was.
You would.
You would, yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, this big pitch now for CSKA Sofia, I might favour them just a tiny bit. But look, Pats are used to playing in Tala. It's not as if they're going to be going over. It's the first time they've ever played in Tala Stadium.
And they will bring a big crowd, to be honest. There'll be big crowds
exactly
behind them as well. So, yeah that will be
exactly.
something.
It's all looking good, but there's still a lot to do. You know what I mean? You still got 90 minutes of plus more maybe to see the job out. So they just got to go in and see the job out, and then they're into the Conference League playoffs, which is I'm sure you weren't expecting. To be honest with you, going into this sort of run of European games, I'm sure you weren't expecting as a Pats fan to be, having still in this so late on in the summer to be still talking about it, and the chance of getting into a Conference League playoffs. So look, they shouldn't look ahead too far. It'd be a great achievement if they can win in the second leg, but they've got to do it, and they've really, really got to do it, and they're well capable of doing it. And I seriously hope they do it, because it's going to be a great achievement for them, and it'd be brilliant for the league, because we've seen now Shamrock Rovers are one win away from guaranteed a group stage as well. So it's all on the up, but that's a brilliant win for St.Patrick, and it was a complete performance by them. So fair play to Pats, and it's brilliant.
Yeah, speaking about the Europa League, Shamrock Rovers beat Shkupi 3-1 at Palace Stadium. Burke penalty 13. Stupid. That's actually stupid foul. Anyway, Watts 29. Quevin, I think, on 77. Probably butchered the name. And O'Neill scores 7 minutes into injury time. I thought Rovers are full value for the win here. First half, they completely dominated the game. I think Manus had one save to make from a free kick, which you'd expect him to save, actually.
Yeah.
Burke was fouled for the penalty. I don't know what the defender was thinking. He's kind of at the edge of the area type thing. And he's a lot to do. He's going to score. He just takes him out of it. And, from their point of view, you're thinking, don't concede early, let's say. And they've given away a penalty to 13 minutes. Happy days for Shamrock Rovers. Watts then at 29 seems to really perform well in Europe, actually. Dylan Watts this year. He scores a lot of goals in Europe. They went in 2-0 at half time, and they were very comfortable and fully deserved at the lead. Into the second half, then it got a little more even. But I think the crucial part of the game was actually when Chris McCann went off with a bit of an injury. I thought he was brilliant in the game, by the way. Calm, controlled, positionally brilliant. Any counter-attacks he seemed to stop as well. But when he went off, Richie Towell came on. He's a different type of player, more of an all-action player. I thought they lost a bit of control in that middle of the park, and Shkupi did start to take advantage. Now, it might have been a coincidence, but that's what happened. And they started moving the ball very quickly. Had a few chances. Manus made a great save from point blank range, about 5 yards out. He should be scored, but it's a great save. And you just felt a goal was coming. Eventually, did score from a long shot. He probably moved in the air because Manus looked a bit unsure, but that made it 2-1. And you've got 30 minutes to go in the game. You're thinking, can they hang on here, Rovers, for 2-1? But because it looked like they could get an equaliser, to be honest with you. But after 84 minutes, they got a red card, second yellow. It was fair enough. I'd agree with it as well. And all of a sudden now they're gone from a situation where they're pushing for a possible equaliser to sitting back and protecting 2-1. And I thought they sat back too far. In fact, for the goal, it did, because for the goal, Gary O'Neill, he scores from distance, doesn't he? But he has space, doesn't he, to score? It's like they're sitting. Yeah. Like, you need to push up a little bit. Like, it's like, go on, have a goal from 20 yards. But, I mean, you could score for 20 yards, and he does. He turns it into the top corner very calmly, actually. So I just thought it was weird the way they sat back. Like, it was just far too deep. And almost, as I said, they weren't even pushing out to press on these shots because there was evidence before that. Sean Hoare had an opportunity, but you wouldn't expect Sean Hoare to score it. But you know what I'm saying? Like, they gave Rovers the opportunity, and that goal to make it 3-1 with the last kick of the game, you've got to think psychologically is absolutely massive going to North Macedonia on Tuesday. They do look a decent side. When they started playing this game, they look a decent side and wouldn't rule them out, Shkupi. But Rovers have to fancy this, particularly after getting that late goal, surely.
Oh yeah, no, I see in the second half of this game actually, and
it was a really good performance actually from Rovers overall. But it'd be interesting to see what you thought in the second half, considering you saw the second half there.
Yeah, I just seen the second half. I was training from earlier on, like, so I didn't get to see the first half. But to be honest with you, like, they were very, very good, like, in that second half. And I was, you know, obviously the second half, Shkupi obviously upped it a little bit, which they probably had to, you know what I mean? Like, they would have been, you know, 2-0 down. They would have been like, probably didn't really realise how good Rovers were. So they probably would have had to up it themselves, you know what I mean?
Is that a point, Luke, just to quickly cut across there? Are some of these teams not realising how good some of these League of Ireland teams are?
100%. I think Motherwell is the prime example that we've spoken about. The whole thing of I know it wasn't them who put the label on the Irish, but it was the Scottish people. It was the Scottish newspaper that were putting it on about minnows and all this. So they obviously have this idea about the league, which, look, I'm not being funny. Let these teams underestimate, you know, the Irish teams, because
more than underestimate the better.
honestly, let them in, because it'll only make teams better. You know what I mean? And it'll only help the likes of Rovers, the likes of Pats, the likes of Sligo. Obviously not this time, but obviously Sligo, and you know, even any other teams that other team. Doesn't matter who it is. Let them underestimate them, because like, it just makes them better. But look, this game, second half, Rovers still, you know, they came out and they still looked quite comfortable, like, and to be honest, I know Shkupi then upped it themselves, but Rovers still felt like that they could still get into the third goal, and they probably would have been disappointed to have conceded and not have, you know, kept a clean sheet in this game. But at the same time, then, for Rovers to get that third goal is so important. You know what I mean? They're going over with the 2-goal lead. You know, they're full of confidence the way they were playing, and you know, I know you mentioned Chris McCann going off with an injury, and hopefully it's not too bad. You know what I mean? But it's
hard to know. Anyways. He's walking off, but it's hard to know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, it is, and it wouldn't normally take, like, it doesn't take him an awful, like, it takes an awful lot for him to be injured. You know what I mean? He is quite like a strong player, like, you know.
The fact his second leg is on Tuesday, it wouldn't even take much of an injury to keep you out of that, like, you know, that kind of way.
No, exactly. But you know, he is quite, like, I've seen Chris McCann a few years and that, and since he's came to Rovers, like, he is quite a strong player, like, you know what I mean? And he's so experienced as well. Like, you're seeing him there, like, he's doing the simple thing, you know, very, very calm, like, and that's what you need, like, a bit of a calm head, like, you know, and especially in them sort of nights, you know what I mean, when the crowd is so up for it. And fair play to the Rovers fans again, like, that was unbelievable. But it looked like a great atmosphere, like,
especially as well when you're missing Jack Byrne, you need someone like that. I know they've got players being spoken at Dylan Watson things, but he's not going to be the type of player that'll get on the ball and calm things down. So with Byrne out, you kind of needed something to really take over that. And McCann has almost he has stepped up to the mark in that sense.
No, he has 100%. Like, he like, that was the question marks I had about Rovers the last few weeks. Was they are sort of missing that player who's going to play that killer ball. You know what I mean? The likes of Jack Byrne, and I know Graham Burke can kind of do it, but Danny Andrew was the one that was doing that. You know what I mean? When Byrne wasn't. Byrne's been very unlucky this season with injuries and that. You know what I mean? But when you've got someone like Danny Mandrew and Graham Burke there that can do that, you know what I mean? I don't think Graham Burke can quite do it as well as Mandrew did or Jack Byrne does.
Burke can come in and out of games, kind of thing. He relies on the Jack Byrne, though, kind of, you know. Graham Burke. But even Mandrew does to a degree as well, because he gets in behind when he was there, obviously, as well.
Yeah, no, I don't agree. Like, I agree. Like, a lot of Graham Burke's goals will come from the likes of Jack Byrne playing balls in behind, because he is he's fast, like, you know what I mean? And you know, he gets in behind defenses, like. But look, then the third goal comes, great goal. I was surprised by the way Shkupi defended it, because you know, there's a rebound that comes out. They looked like they were walking out to it, and then Gary Neal sticks it into the top corner, like, you know what I mean? And
like, O'Neill literally had time and space to pick a spot, like. Now it's not easy to do that, but he had the time and space to do it, like. I
was very surprised with that. Even when the keeper makes the save, and then it's sort of comes out all, and it's they just look very slow to react to it, and I was surprised by that. And I don't think Rovers would have been complaining, because gives Gary O'Neill the ball in the edge of the box, and he has like, he could have sat down on that ball. They didn't look like they were to attack him, like, to come out to him, like defend him, like, so he just placed it into the top corner, and it's a brilliant win for Rovers. And they play Tuesday night now. Obviously, it's a quick enough turnaround. So look, they've got to get ready for that and see out the job, because they see out this job. That's a brilliant achievement. They're in the guaranteed to be in the Conference League, and then they'll be in the Europa League playoff. So they feel like seriously they can really they see this one out. They can really feel like they can probably beat anyone. The Shamrock Rovers. So they could we could be looking at them in the Europa League group stages for all we know. So it's a serious possibility, but they've got to see out this game first before they can start looking ahead. I feel like if they do see out this one, they can look ahead, because you're guaranteed conference. So see this one out, and then you can look ahead. So it's a brilliant one for Rovers. So they've really, really done themselves proud again, and it looked like a brilliant night in Tala again. Like,
yeah, it was, to be fair. That's actually 8 wins in their last 10 games at home in Europe. For a League of Ireland side who are supposed to be one of the weaker teams in Europe, that's a phenomenal record. So fair play to them. Well done, the Pats, well done, the Shamrock Rovers. I suppose commiserations to Sligo, but you just never know. And look, they've had a good run as well. Beating Motherwell, fantastic.
You need to realise, I don't really think Sligo's squad is up to the likes of Pats and the likes of Shamrock Rovers and even the teams above them. I still don't think Sligo have that sort of squad.
And maybe, let's be honest, maybe Pats would have struggled in Norway and Viking as well. We don't know, that kind of way. So there's all that side of it.
Squad is quite thin, like, as it is, you know what I mean?
I think it is a little bit, to be fair to you. And like Gary Buckley being out is huge, even for the league and that. So yeah, we'll leave it there, guys. Thanks, Luke, for coming on. Guys, let us know what you think in the comments. Did you go to any of the games? Subscribe to the channel, hit your bell notification button. And yeah, thanks for watching. Cheers. Lovely.